What is going on, shrimp keepers? I hope everything's working. It's been a crazy morning, and I'm glad that I'm only 12 minutes late. That is an accomplishment. So I apologize for being a little bit late. Got my coffee. I'm ready to go. Let's do this, baby. So, first of all, let me know how the volume sounds. It should be good, but I always like to check just to be safe. So, whenever you guys get that, let me know about that. But good morning to everyone in here. I see Fish on Tank Dicks in here first. Good morning to you, Florante, RT Bettas, Caleb, Bradley Gonzalez, Ron Foss. So many people. Good morning, and good morning. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ron said, I don't have any green coffee, but I have an MN State Park mug with green inside. There you go. You know what? Today is going to be a great day. Today is going to be a fantastic day. So Wednesdays are extra special to me for a couple of reasons. One, it's hump day, which, who doesn't love hump day? It's a great midweek day. We get to do coffee with Flip. We get to enjoy a little coffee, hanging out with each other. And on top of that, every Wednesday I go and visit my aunt and my grandma. And me and my wife go down there and we have some card games that we play. We eat some good food. We switch, 1 week we'll pick up food. The next week they'll pick up food, or we'll make food, or so on and so forth. And Wednesday is just one of those days that I always look forward to. And so today is a great day. And somebody said, "What your name?" It's right there. It's Rob, or Robert, whatever you want to call me. But anyway, so yeah, I get to go hang out with my grandma, and so today they're actually coming to our house, which never happens. Well, it happens every once in a while, but we just finished building our house. We just finished renovating it. It's like, I want to say like 95% done. The drywallers were finishing up this morning in our like mud room in the basement. And so it's going to look really, really good. And so that's why I was running a little bit late. I was kind of waiting for them to get done. They showed up really early. So I was just kind of laying in bed, hanging out with Amanda. And so now here I am. I actually started checking on the team, and I was like, hey, tomorrow, don't forget, it's Thursday and we're going to, have this meeting. And I was like, well, if tomorrow's Thursday, that means today's Wednesday. And then I look at my time and it's like 10:09. I'm like, oh, I'm late. So that's where I was. So I ran over here. Now I'm here, and we can enjoy some time together. So good morning. And good morning. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. But today, and before we get into it, I'll go through some of the comments. And today we're going to talk about substrate, which sounds like it's such a basic topic, and we really don't need to talk about it. But surprisingly, there are tons of mistakes that happen as far as substrate goes. So we'll get into that, and we'll just talk a little bit about that. If you guys have any questions or substrates that you've tried, and maybe you want to try a certain substrate, I'm more than happy to talk about that. I did see Caleb's Shrimp and Scales. Caleb, it has been forever since I got to see you in here. So thanks for tuning in. Send a $2 or I almost said $2 Snapchat. you know you're old when you start saying stuff like that. But no, a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Caleb. And here's what Caleb said. He said, I know it's a month late, but happy birthday, Rob. So thank you to Caleb. My birthday was last month, and it was a good birthday. We had a lot of fun. But yeah, so let's see what Ron said. Episode 3 of Return of the Jedi. Now it's at least a trilogy. Yeah, we made it to Coffee with Flip episode 3. So we are doing something right this year. For me to do it 3 weeks in a row, that I'm on a better schedule. And so, yeah, so it's only going to get better from here. Fingers crossed. And hopefully we'll make it to 40 some episodes this year, and that means we didn't miss any. I'm sure there's going to be a vacation or something that happens that I won't be able to make it, but we'll get to that one when we get there. KC said, wish I could have some coffee, but it's 10 p.m. here in Singapore. Whew, all the way from Singapore. You could drink some decaf. you know, ain't nothing wrong with a little decaf coffee. I did see my good buddy Ollie Taylor in here. He said it is another week gone by. I don't believe it. I tell you what, time flies by. It feels like it just turned the new year, so I feel like we're just getting into 2021, and we're already almost 25% through. So like the first quarter is almost over, and I'm just like, oh. And as a business person, like, you know, every quarter means a lot. And so I'm just like, man, like this year is flying by. Like I have all these things that I want to get done, and we're not quite getting everything done. The big thing is I just need to hire people. Like if I can hire one good person, that would be phenomenal. So yes, let's actually get into the topic at hand. So I have to say, one of the and this is playing into a video that I'm doing for tomorrow. I'm going to do my best to finish it today, but it's like I'm like 10 hours deep into this video at this point. And it's just like a lot of editing and stuff. And it's not even like it's a well edited video. There's just a ton of information that I want to fit into it. But this kind of topic plays right into it. So I see so many people make the simple mistake of using the wrong substrate with shrimp. And so I will pose the question to you guys, and I'm sure a lot of you know this answer because you follow me and you watch my channel, which means you're a little bit more into shrimp than most people. And so the question is, a shrimp specific substrate, is it good for all shrimp? And I'll just let you guys kind of throw some answers out there. Yes. The question is, Christopher, is aqua soil the same as shrimp soil, just without fertilizer? So it's actually all pretty much the same. So aqua soil is shrimp soil. It is literally just branded differently. It all comes from the same factory, or at least I'm 99% sure it all comes from the same factory. So like where they make ADA is probably the same place they make Brightwell soil, and where they make Brightwell soil is probably the same place where they make Fluval. It's just different compositions, different granule sizes, things like that separate them. So, you know, can you use a shrimp specific soil for all shrimp? And Florante, which, you know, Florante is going to know the answer. Well, at least I would think. Florante says no. And that is the correct answer. So, yeah, Jeff said it right. Jeff's Tank said just Caridina, right? And that is even a loaded answer as well. So, a shrimp specific soil, I would say 99% of them are all buffering substrates. So that means that they're going to absorb KH, which is carbonate hardness, and they're going to lower the pH. So any shrimp that you put on a buffering substrate has to be a shrimp that likes a pH of 7 or less. So a lot of people will set up their first shrimp tank and they'll be like, okay, well, I need shrimp specific soil. So they'll go out and they'll buy Brightwell soil, or they'll buy Fluval Shrimp Stratum or ADA or whatever it is. There's tons of options out there. And then they'll do research on what type of shrimp they want. And everyone always says cherry shrimp. Cherry shrimp are the easiest. Cherry shrimp are the ones to go to, or Neocaridina. And then they'll buy these, and then they'll put Neocaridina onto a buffering substrate, which is like the complete opposite that you should do. So therefore, they start to struggle, and they have deaths, and they end up just, you know, maybe I'm just going to give up on the hobby. Shrimp hobby is too hard. When actually, the shrimp hobby is actually, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you do A, B, C, and D, then keeping shrimp is really easy. And I did see Carrie getting here, so shout out to Carrie. Just such a sweetheart, nice person. So, Carrie, I'm looking forward to doing a live stream with you. I saw you email me back. I haven't got a chance to read it, but we'll get into that. And so, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of beginners will kind of just set up on the wrong foot. So it's important to know that Neocaridina actually like harder water. Therefore, most of the time, the best thing you could do is have an inert substrate. Now, inert substrate is something like EcoComplete or fluoride or, you know, sand, something like that. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. So if I do, I apologize. It's like, you know how it gets right there at the edge of sneezing? So that's where I'm at. But there's a big difference. So I always like using the words inert substrate and buffering substrate. Always try to figure out which one's which. Inert substrate most of the time is going to work for Neocaridina. The only time it's not going to work, and I never recommend doing this, but some people that have tap water that's super soft, they might add crushed coral to their tank. And so they'll do a little bit of crushed coral, a little bit of inert substrate. And then like that is so hard to predict where the general hardness is going to end up, where the carbonate hardness is going to end up. So you're literally just kind of, guessing and, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Is it going to have enough minerals? Am I going to have to do water changes every week? Like, it's not a very consistent environment. So this is why, and this can jump into a whole nother conversation, is having the right setup from the beginning is so important, but having the right water from the beginning is the most important thing. So if you don't have the right water, I mean, you're going to struggle through the whole course of keeping shrimp. Now, if you have water that is, a little bit harder or a little bit softer than what they recommend, then you're probably going to be okay. And shrimp, like most creatures, are pretty resilient and they can adapt to a range of parameters. So, no matter what you do, having the right water, having the right substrate, doing your research ahead of time is really going to save you a lot of issues. And so I just wanted to, and we don't have to talk about this the whole time, but I definitely wanted to at least dedicate some time to just let people know that shrimp specific substrate is not always good for all shrimp. And so it's just one good thing to always remember. And an RO water and a remineralizer is always going to be your safest bet. Now we're really lucky here at Flip Aquatics. We're right next to the water plant here in Warren, and they actually do a pretty good job with their water. It's pretty soft. It's got good minerals in it. It does have chloramines in it, which we have to do some extra stuff to get that chloramine out. But we're able to just use our tap water for our shrimp. Now we used to always use RO water, but it just, it just worked that we could use the tap water. And so we've been using it for probably about a year and a half now. And it's done really well for us. So feel free to ask some questions. I see one question coming in right now. Actually, I see a couple questions. We'll start here. So Days Yang said, Brightwall has been has been good for my caridina. Sorry, I thought he was going to say my go-to. Brightwall has been good for my caridina, but with pH buffering soil, you may have to reset it. So that's actually a really good point. So with all buffering substrate, so usually if it looks like little round pebbles, and it's a soil base, most likely it's a buffering substrate. All these soils, depending on, if you're using RO water, if you have water that has KH in it, you're going to run into some issues. And sorry, I just got distracted because Lori Hartland, which I got to pull her up. She is the sweetest person in the world. And that's a bad thing about having chat on the screen is like, I'll see things come by and I'll just get totally distracted. So Lori's Heartland, one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. She loves animals so much that you can just tell, like she has a heart of gold. And so she dropped a $2.99 super chat. So Lori, thank you so much to you. I hope you're doing well. I can't wait to catch up with you guys next time we're in Nashville, and we'll definitely talk some more then. So thanks for stopping in and just saying hi. But yeah, Lori is such a sweetheart. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. Buffering substrate will usually last about 2 years, give or take. Sometimes it can last 3. I like to change it out every 1.5 to 2 years, just because I don't want it going bad. But the big thing here is buffering substrate is it's going to consume KH. Now, if you have a decent amount of KH in your water, say you even have like 2 degrees of carbonate hardness, which is KH, your soil is going to absorb that KH and it's going to break down quicker. So, if you have 5 KH, it's going to break down even quicker. So, I mean, again, this all comes back to we really recommend using RO water because you can mix. Man, I'm getting caught up on my words today. I need some more coffee. But you can mix RO water with salty shrimp, GH plus, and then you're never going to have any KH in your water. And then your buffering substrate is going to last the most amount of time that could possibly last. Oh man, I just need to shave all this. Bald. I have to see here, look at myself, and I'm just like, man, that's a bald head right there. And I did see someone became a member, which is always awesome. So Mark Ellis, thank you so much for becoming a shrimp family member, becoming a part of our team here at Flip Aquatics. And I'll get into membership a little bit later, but our membership core group has been growing so much lately. And so a huge shout out to you guys for being a part of that. And it's a really cool community. It's really easy for me to make videos for members because there's little to no editing involved. I can literally talk about anything. I can just shoot a video on anything because when I shoot an actual video for YouTube, I need to make sure it's decent because if it does bad, then you kind of get out of the YouTube algorithm and it's tough to get back in it. So it's just one of those things that there's a lot more pressure with releasing a normal YouTube video versus a members video. So members video, like I can go shoot one 15 minutes later, start uploading it. An hour and a half later, you guys are going to see it. So that's the cool thing about doing some members videos. But let me get back to some questions because I don't want to miss any of your guys' questions. Parker Benz, what's up, Parker? Parker said, I've used black blasting sand with mixed results. You have to wash it extremely well. And even then, it probably isn't completely inert. So I've had some really, really rough results with black diamond blasting sand. So what I found out, or what I believe that I found out, is some batches of that sand are recycled. And so they clean it with, I think it's petroleum, and that residue is still on the sand. So you might have 3 or 4 great batches of that blasting sand, which if you guys don't know this is basically black sand. So it's an alternative to pool filter sand, which is like a white color. So I use this in, I want to say probably 24 aquariums, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. It's been a long time since I've used it, but we had like 50% of those tanks do bad. And then we would do these water changes, reset them, fill them back up. And then the common denominator became this black diamond blasting sand. And so we did that research and we found that some of it can be washed with the petroleum. And I don't know about you, but sand is not easy to just rinse off. So there's a lot of residue that stays on it. And so for me, it became one of those things that like I can't recommend something that potentially could do harm to someone's shrimp. And so for the black diamond blasting sand, I tell everyone, I was just like, it's not worth the risk. I wouldn't personally ever use it in my aquarium because, that 50-50 chance, it could have residue on it. Am I going to wash it good enough to get the residue off? And so there's a lot of things that could play into that, but I wouldn't recommend anyone to use it. And so that's just a good thing to point out. Now, pool filter sand, which is the white version, it's a really, really clean sand. I actually never rinse it when we use it. It's made for pool filters, I believe. I believe that's why it's called pool filter sand. but hey, I don't know. I always buy it from our spa dealer, so I'm assuming that's what it's for. I guess I've never done the research on it, but anyway, it's always super clean, and we've always had good results with it. And sorry about the phone. Somebody's calling the office. So let's see. Christopher said, can you wash the soil? It says on the package it shouldn't be washed, but I just want to get all the fine dust out of the substrate. So I'm guessing you're talking about buffering substrate. So any substrate that is made of soil. So like most of the buffering substrates will be a perfect round circle, and they're actually made of like fire. They fired soil to a certain degree, and it seals it up that way. And the reason that I really need to get my thoughts straight here. This is too early. So let me backtrack. I go too deep down the rabbit hole. You should never wash an active substrate, which is a soil-based substrate. The reason you should never wash it is because it's made of soil and it will fall apart. So for us, what we do is we literally put it into the tank, like tank's right here. We fill it up right here. And then we only put maybe 2 inches of water, maybe 2 inches, maybe a little bit more on the substrate. let it sit overnight, because what that's going to do is the water or the air bubbles in the soil are going to slowly rise. And then you won't have like a ton of air bubble and air pockets down in there. And so that's why we only do like 2 inches, 3 inches of water, something like that. And man, I need to get my thoughts right this morning. It's too early. You know, I was sleeping, you know, an hour and a half ago. So at least we can have fun. At least I can have fun. I don't know if you guys are having fun, but, you know, I have a great time over here. All right, what else we got going on? Is there a good layered substrate layout? So that's actually a great question. So the only layering substrate I've ever done with success is actually using like organic Miracle Grow and then putting rocks on top of it. And I got that from Dustin's fish tanks like way back in the day. I saw he was using real dirt in his aquarium. So I'm like, I'm going to try that. I want to plant a tank. And then it actually worked pretty well. But as far as layering buffered substrate, I don't see why you couldn't. So like if you did, for example, Brightwell soil and then capped it with sand, it would probably be pretty good for shrimp, for Neocaridina. But you know, if the sand gets disturbed and the buffering substrate comes out, then, you know, maybe it would influence the pH a little bit. I mean, that's an interesting question. We might have to put that to the test. Let me make a note. Any good questions like this, like it's worth writing them down, and then I can actually do a test on it, because that's actually pretty interesting to me. Layering substrate. And we can just try it. I don't know. We're getting ready to set up all these breeding tanks. And so we'll have some stuff to do. Lori did say that they're doing great. So always good to see you, Lori. Thanks for tuning in. I just saw this one. Fat Man Aquatics said, "Hey, fish family. Good morning to all. Good morning to you, Fat Man Aquatics." That's funny. I love it. Slam Boy said, "When is moss in stock?" That's a great question. We probably have a ton of it right now. We just, I don't know. We list it like every month and a half, and then kind of just see how our stock is, let it regrow, and then list it again a while down the road. Ooh, this is a really good question. I love this question. How deep do you recommend Caridina substrate should be? 402 Aquatics, great question. So in a standard tank, one that has a rim on it, we always fill it up just to the rim. Now, the only reason we do that is just simply because when we're checking on the shrimp, if the substrate's below the rim, then, you know, obviously you can't see the shrimp. And so it makes it a little bit more difficult to take care of them. And so we fill it up right to the rim just to make sure that we can see all the shrimp. So that's probably, I would say, 2 inches max. Now, if I was doing plants like, you know, Amazon swords, crypts, I might do 4 inches of substrate. And that's only because the plants need a little bit more to root into. If I was doing a shrimp only tank that was rimless, I would probably honestly do 1 inch or less of substrate. Because at the end of the day, like, buffering substrate is pretty expensive. And so less is okay. And, you know, I've never done a set experiment on it, but I would assume that it doesn't matter if you're using 1 inch or 4 inches, like the substrate's going to buffer just as long, because, you know, so let me backtrack. If you have KH in your water, it will buffer a shorter amount of time based on how much substrate you have. If you don't have KH in your water, so if you have RO water, remineralized with GH+, and that's the only thing in it is GH, then I would reason to believe that it doesn't matter if you're using, you know, 1/4 inch of substrate or 4 inches of substrate. The soil is going to last 2 to 3 years, no matter what. I think the only time it really comes into play is if, you know, you have the KH in your water. But again, I always set up my tanks with GH+. So It's something else we could potentially run an experiment on. So all these things, these are good questions because not all of them do I know the answer to, just because I haven't tried every different scenario. So let me write that one down. Buffering substrate depth. Now, people like Nico, which Nico's a really great guy. I always forget Nico's last name. It starts with an R. He's a Frenchman. He's awesome. Love the guy. But he's a big breeder over in France, and he actually only uses about, I think the way that he explains it is he uses enough substrate so that you don't see the glass on the bottom. So whether that's, an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch or whatever it would be, he doesn't use very much substrate. And then what that does is when he changes his substrate, he doesn't even take the shrimp out of the tank. Like he might take the shrimp out of the tank, but he literally will take the substrate out, put new substrate in, put shrimp right back down in the tank. He doesn't cycle the substrate or anything like that. And so I think that's why he only uses a little bit of substrate, because I believe he uses ADA, which leaches ammonia. And so if he's just using a tiny bit of substrate, it's not enough ammonia to really affect anything. Hey, Mark's in here. Mark said, want any food from Rallies? That's my boy right there. That's my boy, Blue. And so Mark divers down. No, I'm good, buddy. Thank you very much. He's probably coming into work and he was just listening. So that's pretty funny. Alan said, if I have really dark shrimp, green jades, for example, will a lighter in color substrate help make the shrimp brighter? So it's actually the opposite. So, okay, so green jades, maybe it could do that. I will tell you from experience, whatever shrimp that you keep on a white substrate, it's going to dull their color. So their color is going to get almost more clear. Whereas any shrimp that you keep on a dark substrate, that shrimp is going to do really, really well. So for example, when I used to work with Selene, who's an importer, he sent some shrimp to the USA competition or the international competition at Aquatic Experience. And when I put the shrimp in the boxes to bring them, he wanted me to wrap each bag in black plastic. Now this could be something that you guys could try out too. And it didn't make sense to me because I'm like, the shrimp are literally going to be in pitch black in a shipping container. And he's like, no, wrap them in black plastic and their color will get a lot better. And I'm just like, okay, sure enough, like their color was really nice. So there has to be something said that the darker the substrate. So if you go with like just straight black substrate, you're going to get the best color out of your shrimp because they're going to try to turn as dark as they can. So like really dark green jade shrimp in this situation on black substrate would just keep getting more dark green, probably to the point where they would almost be black. Now, if you put them on a lighter substrate, and they definitely would start lightening up, they might turn like an orangish color or a yellowish color or a reddish color. Like you really don't know. And so like downstairs in our fish room, well, all of our ponds with neocaridina, I got this little fuzz floating around. I'm like that dog is like squirrel. I think it's from Up. But anyway, all of our 125 gallons downstairs all have the black soil in them. Or I believe they're all painted black on the bottom. There might be a few that are just clear, but I would have to go double check. So yeah, so that's a great question. Yeah, substrate plays a huge part in the color of the shrimp, and so does shipping. Like I can't even begin to tell you the amount of customers we have that order cherry shrimp, and they get them and they send us an email and they are just ticked, and they're like, I ordered these. The description says that most of them are going to be fire red or sakura. And these are all like the worst of the worst. Their color looks terrible. And our thing is we always say, like, listen, give them 2 weeks. If you're still unhappy with the color, let us know. And almost always like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they email us back and they're like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, they did color up. They look good. I'm shocked that they lose that much color. And so it's unbelievable how much the environment changes the color of the shrimp, whether it's stress of shipping or just stress of being in your aquarium or having white substrate, like whatever it is, the color of your shrimp can really be affected. So Alan, great question. All right, let's see what else we got. Jesse said, I noticed in a couple of my tanks that I have Hydra. Any recommendations on getting rid of it? I live in Canada and don't have access to all the medication. So Hydra, basically any dewormer is going to kill them. So we use Panacure C. Now, again, Panacure C is not made for aquarium. So if you're going to dose it, it's at your own risk, but I'll just go from my experience. We use Panacure C. And I forget exactly what it is, but I know that it's 0.1 gram of Panacure C per 10 gallons. So like a 1 gram container will treat 100 gallons. If you overdose a little bit, it's not the end of the world. I've never really had issues from overdosing. But you're going to want to do a water change a couple of days after you dose it. And the reason for the water change is it's going to kill all the hydra in your tank, which could potentially lead to an ammonia spike. And so it's literally just to take care of that. The other big thing is turn the lights off when you're treating it. A lot of people report that it doesn't work if there's light in the room, so it needs darkness to do it. So a good thing right before you go to bed at night or as soon as it gets dark outside and you turn all the lights off, go ahead and just hit it with one dose. Wait a couple days. If there's still hydra, you can do another dose. And then, after 3 or 4 days, I would definitely recommend doing a water change. Because hydra is one of those things that they're kind of a pain in the butt. I know they sell pixie snails. If you don't have the medication, you can get pixie snails and they'll eat them. So there's a couple different ways you could do it. I'm sure you can find some specific dewormer for aquariums. I think erythromycin is for bacteria, but it's General Cure, API General Cure that treats the worm. So if you have access to API General Cure over in Canada, that could potentially work as well. And there's definitely some options. If whatever you try doesn't work, feel free to shoot me an email, store@flipaquatics.com. But yeah, so good question. Let's see if there's any more substrate-based ones. My boy, Kang Lee, Twin Cities Guppy. Shout out to Kang and his whole family, Sai and everyone. Always good to see them in here. They're just good people. So always got to give them some love. Let's see what Frankie said. So Frankie Fins. So my water is softer at like 6.6 and 6.8 pH. I'm not seeing over 3 GH in KH. I wonder whether I should add crushed coral for neos or try something else. So again, this is always where I come back to. If you have neos now and they're working, keep doing it. Like, do what you're doing. If you don't have neos now, I would always recommend, using RO water. So I'm guessing that you're either using tap water or I'm guessing it's either tap water or well water based on what you said. Now, if you have 3 GH and 3 KH, you could potentially use a buffering substrate that would get rid of your KH. It would stabilize your pH, and then you could try something like Tangerine Tigers or Crystal Reds. But again, it's always better to just start with RO water right off the bat. Like if you got an RO unit for your house and your GH is 3 and your KH is 3, that RO unit is going to last like 10 years because your water is already so soft. So it'd be really easy for you to just get RO water right out the bat. And then all you have to do is order the remineralizer, and then you can make your water parameters whatever you want for what shrimp that you want. And so that would probably be my biggest recommendation. Adding the crushed coral, it's just a variable, right? And so, how much crushed coral do you add per gallon? And crushed coral isn't like, you put in your aquarium and it leaches GH for, just a little while. You might find a good balance that, if you put a cup in there per 10 gallons, it will increase your GH by 3 degrees every week. And so all of a sudden, if you forget to do a water change 1 week, now your GH is 3 higher than it used to be. You factor in evaporation, and now your GH is actually 5 higher than it's supposed to be. And, all of a sudden now you have this roller coaster of parameters in your tank, and your shrimp aren't going to do well. And so, so I always recommend staying away from crushed coral. Most people that use crushed coral are people that have automatic water changes or continuous water changes, because then it's a lot easier for them to determine, oh yeah, this is exactly how much I need to maintain a level of 10 GH or whatever it is. And so, so yeah, I would always recommend, just if you have the ability, which it sounds like your water is pretty good, do RO water and just start from the basics. But if you did want to try a shrimp, I would recommend, with the parameters that you gave me, a buffering substrate to get rid of the GH, and try something like crystals or tangerine tigers. You could even try Taiwan bees. So yeah, you got some options there. All right, let's see what else we got. Kick me down to the bottom. Just following up with the Panicure C. Galbo said, I got rid of all my hydro with Panicure C. Yeah, it does. It works really well. And then at least in the US, it's pretty accessible. Now, the science or the actual ingredients in Panicure C is fenbendazole, which pretty much if you buy fenbendazole, it doesn't matter where you're getting it or what type it is. Like, it's fenbendazole, no matter what. It's just labeled differently. So you could get a different product that's fenbendazole. I know there's goat dewormers, there's horse dewormers, and a lot of them are just fenbendazole. So just know 0.1 gram per 10 gallons. You don't want to exceed that. Alec McClannon, my man. I haven't seen Alec literally in, oh my gosh, it's probably been a year. So Alec, so good to see you, my friend. I love your name. As I always tell you, I love McClannon. It reminds me of Outlander. I don't know if you guys watch the show Outlander. It's one of me and my wife's favorite shows. I just love like Scottish, Ireland, like that kind of stuff. And so that whenever I read your name, man, it makes me happy. But Alex said, I assume cherry shrimp is your most popular shrimp you sell. What is your second most popular shrimp? Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. Most popular, it's actually really close to number one and number two. Like, they go back and forth which one's most popular. But it's a mono shrimp and cherry shrimp. I mean, they're like neck and neck all the time. So excuse me. My throat's getting dry. I told you guys, man, I'm not used to talking this much. We're only 3 weeks in here. But yeah, the cherry shrimp and the mono shrimp, we sell a fair amount of both of them. And yeah, it's just those are the top two. Next one after that would probably be crystal reds. It might be fantasy blues now. I'm not sure. It goes back and forth too. But yeah. So good question. Let's see. Is your store open to the public? So Tim, thank you for the question. Is your store open to the public? Going on vacation to Hocking Hills and would love to stop by and check it out. So it's not open to the public. We actually have plans to do like a little storefront out there, potentially, and we haven't really set it into motion. Our big thing is we can't find people to work, right? With the pandemic, everyone kind of just wants to be at home. And so it's really hard to get, qualified people. It's really hard to get people that, even if they're not qualified. So until we have more hands to help, we're kind of at a standstill as far as expansion and new ventures. Just because like our team's already strapped the way it is. So I don't want to throw more on their plate. Galbo said, have you ever bred a mono shrimp? I have not. They breed in brackish water. And so, well, they actually breed in freshwater. Their larva hatches, floats down the river to brackish water. The babies need brackish water to live. They convert from larva to shrimp, and then they go back up the river. So that's kind of the process as I understand it. And so no, I've never bred them. People say that they bred them, but I'm going to guess that they bred a variation that isn't a mono shrimp. It might be a different species that looks like a mono shrimp that actually breeds in freshwater. If someone did breed a mono shrimp, then that's a lot of work, and kudos to them for being able to convert them back and forth. How about some love for orange pumpkins? Orange pumpkins is one of my favorite shrimp, Michael, big time. I love me some orange pumpkins. Just the way they contrast on a black substrate. I mean, They look pretty darn good. Excuse me. What type of RO unit do you recommend, a 4 or 5 stage? So I can actually show you what we use. So again, I'm no expert on RO systems. I literally just, I use what I use, and it's worked pretty darn good for me. So I'll show you this company that I was using. Again, none of this is sponsored. This is just a company that I've worked with for forever. Let me find. I'll just pull it up. Got to remember how to share my screen. Here we go. So this is AquaFX. It's aquariumwaterfilters.com. And if we go to commercial units, this is the unit that we have in both of our buildings. So the only thing that we added to this is we have 2 DI resins. So we have DI RO, and then I believe there's 2. What is it? This one has 3 sediment filters. We have 1 sediment filter and 2 carbon towers, and one of the carbon towers is an ammonia blaster, so it actually gets rid of the ammonia out of the water. Now the one that I always recommend to everyone is, I believe it's here, the Barracuda. Actually, just click on it. So the only bad thing about this place is it's a little pricey. I know there's some other websites that sell this brand that you could probably get it cheaper. But yeah, you can come here and just kind of customize it. So I always like a sediment filter. I like a carbon filter. I like the DI, and I don't know why. I just do. I've always used it, so it works well. And then the actual RO membrane. So I think that's 4 stage. Now more filtration isn't necessarily bad, so you could definitely use more filtration. But that's what we use. So yeah, thanks for the question. Let's see. Michael said, my city water is half well field water, perfect GH with little shrimp salt. That's awesome, man. That's it's always a blessing to have really good water. And like here at the shop, we have phenomenal water. At our house, we don't necessarily have good water anymore because we moved. We built a house and we have a well. I mean, it's good water, but it's really not good for shrimp. We have to use a water softener, which it's always good to know. Anytime you're adding a water softener, which is putting salt in the water, it's not good for plants, and it's not necessarily the greatest thing for shrimp either. Let's see. Let's see what Ollie said. What are your thoughts on other wild type shrimp and whether the hobby could introduce new and unusual varieties like with fish? They must be so many varieties in South America. So, I don't know. So I want to get out there and I want to explore more. I'm sure there's a ton of varieties of shrimp that we haven't even found yet. So I'm sure there's just tons and tons of them. Now, as far as producing our own type of shrimp, or let's see how you word this, just so I make sure I'm answering it right. What are your thoughts on other wild type shrimp and whether the hobby could introduce new and unusual varieties like they do with fish? So I love wild type shrimp. What I don't love about wild type shrimp is how they're harvested and how they're sustained. For example, if we import tiger shrimp, they come from China. So our exporter buys them from China, brings them in, quarantines them, and then sends them to us. So if we order, say, 5,000 tiger shrimp, he might order 10,000. And by the time he quarantines them, he's only got 5,000 left. Now we get them in. Now they're at point C, maybe point D, which means like they started in their home, or they started in the river, which is A. They went to an exporter, B, went to our exporter, which is C, and then came to us, which is D. And so now they've been bounced around a lot. So we're going to quarantine them. And, we might end up with 2,500. And so now you have this process of, you started with 10,000 shrimp, which the exporter might have caught 15,000 shrimp. And, 5,000 died for them, 5,000 died for our guy, 2,500 died for us. Now there's only 2,500 left. Sure, we can sell those and, you know, make good money on them. But, you know, if they're not going to do well and they're not going to reproduce and we're going to introduce them back in, then, you know, it kind of sucks taking 15,000 shrimp out of their natural environment and only having 2,500 left. So I would just need to go there and see like how the collection process works. And this is the same for all wild type shrimp. Like if my importer or my exporter, sorry, if my exporter isn't breeding the shrimp, it's really hard for me to be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy those and bring those in. And so I always try to be very, very careful about where I'm getting wild type shrimp from and how I get them and how they're sourced. But I do think there's some really cool species out there that if we introduce them to the hobby, they'd be able to breed in the hobby, and then we wouldn't have to take them from the wild anymore. But I would much rather just find somebody that has a sustainable source and is really ethical about how they take them out of the source and everything like that. But as far as like introducing and breeding new ones, like, you know, we're already doing that. And I don't think that's really your question, but it might be. So I think there's already like a ton of new breeding, like, you know, they have this new type of shrimp and they breed it to that old type of shrimp and get a newer type of shrimp. And that's where you see like a lot of the high end variables in shrimp. Let's see what Ron said, just because I saw it. In Minnesota, I need at least a 6-stage with 2 DI canisters. Very hard, very high pH, high GH, high KH. Bulk Reef Supply is a good source for RODI units as well. There you go. And I actually think Bulk Reef Supply actually sells the Aqua FX. But yeah, it can get really expensive. So, you know, having soft water is a huge blessing. Oh, all right. So let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything before I jump on into to our next topic. Let's see. Heavy Ca and Mg water will scale up your membrane. High CO2 will eat through resin. So there's someone that knows much more, apparently, than I will ever know about RO units. So calcium, I'm guessing calcium and magnesium will clog up the membrane, and then a lot of CO2 will actually eat through the resin. So yeah, like I know our resin gets eaten up pretty quick. And I know when our pH comes out, like it's really, really soft. So I'm guessing it's because of lack of oxygen and tons of CO2, but you never know. I've never done like a really good study of our water. But let me share my screen again. I want to pull up. So like I was talking about earlier, you know, our membership has really been growing, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful for, you know, a new member came in today. And I actually got some new members that I want to give a shout out to. Let me just pull it up real quick. And I just want to take a little bit and just, you know, focus on membership and, you know, why it's so important and everything like that. And, you know, how appreciative I am of you guys. So Mark Ellis is the person that, you know, became a member today. So Mark, thank you so much for joining in. Keith Velkoop is another new member. Shout out to you. Ohead Brancha, Isaias, Galbo, IBE Sam 7, and then Blake Haas are all the new members. So guys, thank you so much for deciding to become a part of, you know, our little shrimp family over here at Flip Aquatics. It's always cool to have more people, and you know, I'm really, really excited to see where this membership takes us. We currently have 76 members. I really want to, like, my big goal, and this isn't a financial goal. It's just a goal to have 1,000 members. Like, I just think that would be the coolest thing, to have 1,000 people that are like bought into what we're doing, and they're a part of what we're doing here at Flip Aquatics. And, you know, it's kind of like this core of people that support you and don't have to. They just do because they love you, or they want to see what you're doing, or they want to be more a part of it. And it's just a really cool thing. And so I have been trying, and I want to show you guys, I've been trying every single week to, and I've been doing it only for 2 weeks, so I can't say that I'm really crushing it yet, but I'm getting close. So I've been trying every week to do a members only video, and to the point where, like, you know, I was asking the members yesterday is, you know, what do you guys want to see? Like, because we can do a video on anything. Like I can just walk around the warehouse and talk about whatever you want to see, whatever you want to talk about. And so I'll share my screen real quick. And this is the video that we did on, I want to say I did it last Friday. So Florante is one of our members and shot me an email, and they were like, hey, like what type of rare shrimp do you have? Because he's a rare shrimp collector. And what type of rare shrimp do you have? Because I might want some. So I actually dedicated the whole video to Florante, and actually just showing off all of our breeding tanks, which I know I've showed this in I wouldn't say a recent video, but a video in the last like 6 months. And so it's not like anything's like crazy new, but like I go through this whole process kind of, you know, it's just a normal video. So well, not really a normal video. I do kind of a little bit of an intro, you know, shout out to Florante. And then, you know, you got the VIP only in the Flip Aquatics. And then I kind of just walk through the warehouse and show off, you know, like we got a new water change system. You guys haven't seen that yet. But I showed the members, kind of gave them a little update on that. And then I walk through, you know, showing off the Super Princess B tank. And then, you know, there's a whole row of a bunch of different types of shrimp that we're breeding. So I kind of just went through that and explained like what we're doing and what we're looking for, and, you know, kind of our plans for a new breeding rack. And then at the end of the video, I kind of go through the layout of what I'm thinking for our new breeding rack and what we're going to do and how you could be a part of it. And so yeah, so just kind of a cool video, and I won't go through it all because, you know, that's for the members, but it's really cool. And one of the things that I want to try, and I think it will be fun for me, I think it'll be fun for the members. I know multiple members have brought it up in the past and suggested it. Two off the top of my head, Will, which is Sure Aquatics, and then Ollie Taylor, two people that have suggested it to me. And there's some others too, but those are the two that really have pushed home about it. Is we're planning on doing a breeding rack with 40 tanks, and they're going to be display tanks. So it will be really nice. You know, every tank will be, I wouldn't say aquascape, but every tank will have decorations in it. It will have a nice light on it, some plants in it, and stuff like that. And so what I said to the members is we have, I think, 4 tiers. We have the shrimp family. Let me just pull it up. We have the shrimp family. I don't have it pulled up, but I think I remember. Shrimp family. And then we have the video managers, and then the rare shrimp collectors. And there's one more, but I'm forgetting what it is. So let me just pull it up. It's better that way. I got to get back to my channel. I can't believe I don't remember. You know, whenever you get put on the spot about anything, you tend to forget. Okay, you got the shrimp family. You got video directors. You got livestock managers. That's one I forgot. And then you got rare shrimp collectors. So the rare shrimp collectors, the highest tier, I'm actually going to let them, and I think I'm going to do it like once you've been a rare shrimp collector for 3 months, then you could be a part of this. And they're actually going to be able to pick one of our breeding tanks, and then I'll sit down with them and we can talk about, you know, what substrate do we want to use? What decorations do we want to use? What plants do we want to put in there? And then what type of shrimp do we want to keep? And they will be directly involved in, you know, keeping that tank. And then, you know, I'll make a little plaque for them, and it'll be sitting in front of the tank or to the side of the tank. So whenever I do a video on that tank, we can be like, hey, this video is sponsored, or not sponsored. This video isn't sponsored, but I'll be like, hey, today we're going to be talking about dragon bloods. And this is actually our member, Ollie Taylor. And he has helped me, you know, decorate this tank and be a part of it. And so huge shout out to Ollie for his support. And then we'll get into the video. So it'll be kind of a cool way, you know, for those members that really want to get involved, to be involved and be recognized for what they're doing. So I'm really excited for that. I think it will be a lot of fun for me. I think it will be a lot of fun for whoever wants to participate in it. And it will just be kind of a cool thing. And then I don't have to sit back and be like, oh, what do I want to do in this tank? And what do I want to do in that tank? It'll literally be like, hey, what do you want to do in this tank? So it'll be a good time. So hopefully you guys think that's pretty cool. And I'll answer some more questions. I see Zach asked a question. Zach Lomax, shout out to you. He said, thinking about picking up some long fin white clouds from you. Is the male to female ratio random? Yeah, it's completely random. Now you can always put a note on your order and say like, hey, I really want to have 3 males and 1 female, or, 3 females and 1 male. And depending on how many we have, and depending on how many orders are going out, we usually can, answer those requests to the best of our ability. We don't guarantee sexes unless it says so on our website, just because some things are too young to sex, and so it can be pretty time consuming. But yeah, our shipping team and our livestock team, they do their absolute best to answer any questions you guys have and meet any requests if they can. And so yeah, it is completely random unless you specifies otherwise. And then we do the best we can to try to accommodate you. Have you seen Fabrizio Nova said, have you seen Caridina with white eyes? I imported some CBS and they came with white eyes. That's actually really interesting. I've never seen them with white eyes, but I've seen them with like orangish eyes, which I guess, because I'm kind of colorblind. So they could potentially have had white eyes, but it's definitely not a common thing. And it could be some type of bacterial thing, or they went blind or something like that. Or it could be a genetic mutation. You never know. But I would say, if the Taiwanese, who are just phenomenal at shrimp breeding, like they just jump in there and they make it work. They do whatever they have to do. If they haven't been able to stabilize like a crystal red or crystal black with white eyes, I would say it's going to be a hard thing to do. So it's always worth trying. Like, just see if it will work, and separate them out and just see if you breed them together, if you get more white eyes. But yeah, that kind of stuff's always fun. Like, that's one of my favorite things about importing shrimp is you never know what you're going to get. For example, like we'll order Galaxy Pintos, and we'll order in 100 or 200 of them. And out of that 100 or 200, I can go through and cherry pick the nicest ones. Like, oh, I love that pattern. And this one looks cool. So cool. Or, oh, there's a snowflake. Like, so many different things. So I can take like the cream of the crop and then sell the rest. And so that's why once I get into like really breeding and having dedicated rack and stuff like that just for breeding, it's going to be really fun because I can literally just cherry pick out of, hundreds upon thousands of shrimp. Let's see what Ollie said. At Flip Aquatics, dude, I am so excited for this. With the limited space I have, this is one of the only ways to connect with high-end shrimp keeping without the space. Thank you. That's so cool, man. I'm really excited too. It will be it's gonna be fun. It really is gonna be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Slam Boy said, at Flip Aquatics, matin filters in stock. We actually just got the order in, I think last week, and I restocked them yesterday, so they're ready to go. You can go to town and do your thing and order as many as you want. Yeah, we should have. I mean, we have a lot. We have a lot. I want to say we have like at least 100 of each size or something like that. Fabrizio said, same question. So we already talked about this earlier. I haven't seen white eyes specifically, but I've seen variations of orange eyes. Will ghost shrimp harm baby Neocaridina? So ghost shrimp, I'm not sure of. I believe ghost shrimp are more towards the lines of prawn. And if that's the case, then absolutely they will. I guess it all depends, like if they have the little like pinchers in the front or not. Well, I guess that's not a good comparison because, all shrimp kind of had pinchers in the front. But I guess it depends on the type of cherry or the type of ghost shrimp that you have. But I would say that's pretty much all shrimp could eat baby shrimp. So like I've seen royal blues, fighting over food, and then a little baby comes in the middle of them and they tear it apart and then eat it. Not that they meant to do it, but they did it. And so it definitely can happen. So just know that. And so it's definitely possible for them to eat ghost shrimp, to eat baby shrimp. Now I would say it's not common for, shrimp just to eat other shrimp. But ghost shrimp, if they're more on the side of the family as prawns, then I would say it could definitely happen. And then Bradley said, how do I become a member? So there's actually going to be a link down below Usually next to the subscribe button, there's, which I can pull it up and just show you. That's what I'll do. So you got to think, man, I've been off YouTube for just a little while. So I got to remember myself sometimes. So, okay. So here's the YouTube channel. So let me display it as if I was, see, I don't remember how to display it as if I was just someone returning. Maybe this is how it always looks. Apparently I got 2 live streams going right now. That's pretty cool. But you come here, this is just like Flip, you go to Flip Aquatics, and then you can go over to membership, and you could join this way. And then you just pick which one you want. And then the other way to do it, if you go to our video, so like, you know, if I click on this video for today, which I'll pause it, you go down to the bottom and there'll be this join button right here. And then also there's this link right here that says become a part of our exclusive shrimp family. And then you can click this link. So there's a couple ways to join. And then this kind of shows like everything you get. And it doesn't say anything about like the breeding rack or anything yet, because we're just getting ready to do that. But you know, always a good thing. Look at that. Look at that face. Caught myself at a good time. So that's what we got going on. I probably got a couple more minutes. I can answer some more questions if you guys got them. If not, I gotta get back to editing this video for you guys, because I really need to get one out. It's been, I want to say like two months since I posted the video, like an actual edited, legitimate video. And so I really want to get it out there. But I think this one might not be a good video, like as far as, hey, let's go be entertained, but it will be a phenomenal video for education and for me to be able to share with my customers, be like, you know, if you're having this issue, go watch this video, because it's going to teach you a whole heck of a lot. And so, I still yawn. Apparently I still yawn. So even though I'm drinking coffee over here, it is decaf though. Don't tell anyone. I have to drink decaf. I get anxiety like through the roof if I start drinking caffeinated coffee, which is the weirdest thing. Let's see what Andy said. Andy said, when shrimp die of old age, do they suddenly keel over one day? That's an interesting question. I mean, I guess like it's a living animal, so same thing with people. Some people just die like that, whereas other people, you know, are in the hospital for forever and then die. So I guess like there's a lot of answers to your question. But yeah, like I would say shrimp just kind of, one day they're there, one day they're not, and the current will blow them over and other shrimp will start eating them. So yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different ways that could go. There's no one right answer, but they could molt bad and they could suffer for a little while and then they could die. They could just die of old age and just, they're there 1 second and then they're not. So interesting question, Andy. Interesting question. Ooh, I got 2 more and then I gotta get off here. Mark Ellis said, what would be your number 1 pick for substrate in a nano plant tank? Want to introduce shrimp after I get enough bioload. So if you want to do a planet tank and you're not afraid to do Caridina, then I would go with Brightwell Shrimp Stratum or Brightwell Shrimp Soil. I think it's Rio Oscuro is my favorite type. In full transparency, Brightwell does sponsor us every single year, but I absolutely love their substrate. The whole reason that I started working with them is simply because I love their products. So it's a great company, even though I'm sponsored by them. Even if I wasn't sponsored by them and you asked me what substrate I would use, I would tell you Brightwell Shrimp Soil every single time. Now, if you're just setting up a tank and you want to do Neocaridina, then I would do something like Fluorite. I mean, you could do like Eco Complete, something like that, that isn't going to buffer the water, but is going to provide those nutrients. And then Oli said, content concept Rare shrimp collector shrimp room tours. Ah, that is cool. I like that. The only thing is we got to find some rare shrimp collector shrimp room tours. Because in the US there are not many of them, but I love it, man. That's really cool. I need to come over and visit you and travel the world and find all these rare shrimp collectors and make some videos on them. You can get some golden nuggets there. But yeah, so guys, I appreciate you all very much. Thank you so much for being a part of the live stream. I apologize for being late today. I've been pretty good about not being late, and just a lot of things were going on today. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Thank you for the new members. Thank you for the super chats and just being a part of this community. Appreciate you guys so much. If you have any suggestions as far as what you want to talk about next week, go ahead and drop a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking. But love you guys. Appreciate you. And you guys make it a great week. And as always, God bless. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of Coffee with Flip.